Are you tired of your teams getting one shot in MOC? Don't you just hate getting CC'd by this automaton? Want emancipation? Look no further because Fu Xuan solves all those problems and more. Here's how her kit works. Her main shtick is with her talent. She gives a team-wide damage reduction while she's alive, and whenever she hits 50% of her max HP or less, she'll restore 90% of her missing HP. This has one use and refreshes whenever she uses her ultimate. The uses of this talent can also stack up to 2 times. This means that Fu Xuan is pretty much unkillable as long as she keeps using her ultimate. Her ultimate is just an AoE nuke that scales off her HP and heals her team for a minuscule amount just to win back the chip damage they'll take. Her skill activates the Matrix of Prescience for 3 turns, and she transfers 65% of the damage that her team receives, and she tanks it for them. The damage is transferred before it's mitigated by shields, by the way, meaning that shielding on Fu Xuan is fine, but shielding the rest of your party might be a little overkill. While the Matrix of Prescience is active, she also boosts her own team's HP and crit rate, which are great for HP scaling units, and the crit is great for just about everyone really. With their A6 trace, her entire team can resist a single crowd control debuff action while the Matrix is active. CC refers to freezes, imprisons, and entanglements that enemies apply to you. If it prevents you from casting your ultimate, then it's counted as CC. This is very valuable as it prevents your actions from being delayed, and that you don't have to cleanse it since she deals with it before it even applies. And for the people curious if effect press procs first before burning Fu Xuan's A6 trace, then I'll most likely leave my discoveries in a pinned comment. I'm still checking things to make sure they're accurate. Unlike shields, the Matrix of Prescience runs out based on her turns instead of the protected units' turns, so you don't have to worry about shield burnout like you do with Jeopard and MC. This also means that she's SP positive, which is always great for support units. For her rotations, her A2 trace gives her 20 more energy when she uses her skill while the Matrix is still up. You always open fights with her technique, so the Matrix is active from the get-go. If she uses her skill, autos twice, and uses her skill again, she can generate 145 energy with this 4-turn ult rotation. If you have her LC or an ERR rope, then you can do a 3-turn ult rotation with skill, auto skill. You don't really have to use her ultimate that often though, unless she keeps dropping below 50% HP. So you can just use her skill once every 3 turns just so that the Matrix is always up. For Fu Xuan's light cones, the best one is her dedicated light cone. She already Shut Her Eyes increases her max HP and gives her more energy regeneration. She also boosts her team's damage for 2 turns whenever her HP is reduced. And finally, at the start of each wave, all allies get their HP restored by an amount equal to 80% of their missing HP. Her light cone has solid stat lines. You can choose to use a defensive rope instead of an energy regen rope, since her LC gives her the ERR she needs for a 4-turn ult rotation. The HP restore part sounds absolutely broken, and I thought you could solo sustain with just this light cone. But keep in mind that this says wave and not cycle. Each MOC stage usually has 2 or 3 waves, so you'll only see this effect proc once or twice per stage. Of course, the Her to Store Light Cone, Texture of Memories, is the best F2P cone as it gives her effect res and a temporary shield and damage reduction every 3 turns. In terms of tankiness, S5 Texture of Memories is 19% better than S1 Shut Eyes. Definitely worth your Herta bonds. The main appeal of Shut Eyes is the damage boost that she gives your team, not the tankiness. The 4-star light cones that she can use are Day 1 of My New Life and Landau's Choice. I think Day 1 is exquisite on her as it increases her team's res, which is multiplicative with their talent's team-wide damage reduction. Landau's is a solid light cone, but with their damage distribution, you might find the extra aggro to be a little useless. I immediately thought that Trend of the Universal Market would be good for her due to her damage distribution, but sadly, despite her distributing damage, she still doesn't proc the burn with it. She'd still have to be actually hit by the enemy. Here's a no context comparison for all the light cones. Now for relics. The best relics for Fu Xuan are Guard of Wuthering Snow, Longevous Disciple, and Passerby of Wandering Cloud. I recommend you 2-piece mix all of them with each other, but their 4-piece effects are decent. Guard lets you generate more energy when Fu Xuan's below half HP, but I think you won't get too much mileage of it due to her talent. Longevous Disciple increases her crit rate if you're looking for more offense, and Passerby gives you a skill point at the start of battle. You can also slap in a 2-piece of Night Purity Palace if you'd like. I would say that you should farm the Guard set if you're going for mono quantum, and that passerby is the least valuable of the three. For her planar set, you could either go for broken keel if you want to boost your team's crit damage. This pairs nicely with texture of memories as it gives you some effect rest to hit the requirements. And as usual, you can go fleet of the ageless as it boosts her HP and gives your team attack. You should look for HP percent or def percent for her chest, sphere and rope, and speed for her boots. You can also consider outgoing healing boost for Fu Xuan's chest if you find that your team is dying due to chip damage, but your Fu Xuan isn't. This scenario isn't likely to happen though, as Fu Xuan heals your team for around 300 HP on each use of her ult. For her substats, you should aim to look for loads of speed and an even amount of HP and def substats. You can aim for crit substats as well if you want to boost your damage, and remember that Fu has no attack scalings whatsoever. Here's how to make Fu Xuan as tanky as possible. A character's tankiness or effective HP is comprised of many things, and to be able to maximize tankiness, you should aim to get a good balance of all of these factors. HP, def, damage reduction, and rest are stats that contribute to EHP, and they're all multiplicative with one another. This means that if you stack too much of one stat, you're going to start getting diminishing returns. Fu Xuan already has a team-wide damage reduction built in, so she's already got that figured out. There are currently not many sources of rest increases in this game, but you can get it through day 1 of my new life, which makes it extremely valuable because of its scarcity and multiplicativity. I hear a lot of people telling you just to stack HP and forget about it, but you should think of it as a balancing act instead. If there ever comes a time where there's content that has a ridiculous amount of damage and just straight up one-shot steams, then Fu Xuan has extremely great synergy with shields. This is because shields are pretty much temporary HP on top of your normal HP, and her damage reduction makes each point of shielding on her even better. This is very niche, but I thought I'd include it in the video anyway. On to team building. Since Fu Xuan's a sustain unit, she can fit into almost any team. It is noticeable to say that she's great with jingliu since his Lightning Lord can be interrupted if he's CC'd, and since Fu Xuan prevents CC, she makes sure he lands his 10 stacks every time. I don't think Blade would want Fu Xuan since she doesn't heal him that much, so he wouldn't be gaining much damage off his ultimate. And of course, she's the final piece to the Mono Quantum Dream Team. I'm planning to make a more in-depth video regarding that in the future. For the conclusion, overall, I think Fu Xuan is a solid solo sustainer that has her own niches, and if you think those are valuable for you, then go for it. I would say that Fu Xuan's around the same power level as Locha, A tier. Keep in mind that you only need 2 solo sustainers for MOC, and that Huo is on the horizon. He's a 5-star Wind Abundance character that regenerates energy for your party, and has synergy with Erudition units. I know that the title and thumbnail promise an over-the-top praising for Shanzhou's Seer, and I failed to deliver on that. If you felt betrayed by my lukewarm takes, that's my bad. But I'll keep having grounded opinions and have a reasonable F2P outlook on the meta. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. That's it for me. I'll be making a Mono Quantum video in the upcoming weeks, and I'll also be streaming my Fu Xuan pulls right after this premiere is over. So if you're watching the premiere, please check it out.